What is going on, Patriots fans? This is Jace back with another Mock Draft Monday here on the Patriots Drive podcast. Done 7 of these. I had a little bit of a cool idea for this one. Some of you guys might like it, some of you guys might not, but I'm sticking with the 4-round mock draft. What I'm doing is I'm only drafting Senior Bowl standouts. I know the Senior Bowl wrapped up last Saturday. I wanted to talk about some of the guys now that I've watched all the film, all the practice, the game and stuff, and draft and do a mock draft, 4-round mock draft of Senior Bowl standouts only. So that's what we'll be doing. Of course, make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts on this mock draft, who you want to see the Patriots take. And without further ado, let's jump right into this draft. This video is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. At Underdog Fantasy, you can pick higher or lower on 2 or more players for your chance to win 20, 30, or even 1,000 times your money in a single night. The best part about Underdog Fantasy is it's available in 33 of the 50 states. So what are you waiting for? Use code PATSDRIVE and get your first deposit matched up to $1,000 and join the millions of fans who have won on Underdog Fantasy. Make sure to download the app on the App Store or go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Okay, so let's start off this mock draft, guys. Like I mentioned, this is only going to be, okay, I shouldn't say only, but these guys are all Senior Bowl attendees, okay? I did this based off of guys that were at the Senior Bowl because, one, the Senior Bowl is growing. It's one of the biggest postseason things for the NFL draft other than the Combine. It is huge. If you get an invite to that, it's one of the biggest ways to improve or decrease your stock. So I wanted to kind of talk about those guys, even though we did put out a video. If you haven't watched it, you can go back and watch it. But I wanted to do a draft centered on that. So this is only guys from the Senior Bowl that I had in my options to select. So give us a couple guys to talk about, maybe some guys that we previously had. So you guys can see right off the rip, I made a trade, okay? Some of you guys may or may not like this one. Now it is moving down a little far. It's moving down 8 picks. But in this trade with the Dallas Cowboys, Shedeur Sanders is still on the board. So Dallas trades up, get Shedeur there. The Patriots get their Dallas's first this year, which is pick 12, and their second this year, and a 2026 first-round pick. Now, some might say this is too much. Some might say this isn't enough. Obviously, it depends on what side you're on. I debated, hey, do we throw in Micah Parsons? Is Micah Parsons one of those ones that we throw in there? That could have been a thing that we did. But I think that adding another first-round pick there is something that the Patriots might be interested in, adding future draft capital. Now, instead of having a first, a second, and 2/3, you have a first or 2 firsts, a second, and a third. So that's how I did it here with my first overall pick. Not a lot of people are probably going to, know about this name as of right now. Shamir Stewart, defensive end out of Texas A&M. Okay. This guy came in at 6'5" and 1/8, 281 pounds. That's in the 90th percentile amongst defensive lineman measurements since the 1999 NFL draft. 34.25-inch arms is in the 80th percentile. When you talk about an offensive lineman wanting 34-inch arms, if you have a defensive lineman or an edge rusher like Shamir Stewart that has 34.25-inch arms, that's a freakishly good arm size. That's going to make it hard for any offensive lineman to be able to block him. And he had an 83.5-inch wingspan, which is in the 92nd percentile. Again, this dude measured like a freak, okay? He was one of the biggest Senior Bowl risers, in my opinion, across the whole board, right? This guy, how he measured, how he played, seeing his freakish athleticism against some of the top talent was great. So took him here. He has an 88.2 run defense grade. He's a bigger, stouter defensive end, right? Some of his knocks are that he hasn't had elite pass rush production. He only had 6 sacks and over 1,200 pass rush snaps in 3 seasons. And he does not have much pass rush moves outside of a bull rush. I'll get to kind of his pros here in a minute. Does show a little bit of stiffness in the hips. Just it's hard for him to kind of turn the corner. He's not Mike Green. He's not Mykel Williams. He's not James Pierce. He's not Abdul Carter. He's a different type of edge rusher, but he measured out freakishly. He's really good in the run, things like that. Like I mentioned, great size and elite length to be a big-time defensive end measurement-wise, right? Like, has everything, right? Mike Green, you're wondering, ooh, is he a little too small? Abdul Carter's a little too light. Like, there's some questions frame size on some of those top edge rushers, but Shamir Stewart doesn't have those. Really long arms, like I mentioned, good leverage in the run game, good ability to get control of the offensive lineman. I hit it on when I was talking about his cons. his speed to power pass rush is his go-to, right? He's going to push him vertically up the field, put his foot in the ground, and be able to drive an offensive tackle back into the quarterback. That's where he makes his money. And then his change of direction for his size at 6'5" and 1/8, 280 pounds is really, really, really impressive. Really good when he's in the run game and he has to shed a blocker and get to his gap when he's trying to chase down a quarterback. He's a freak athlete. Now, I don't think this guy should have gone number one a couple years ago when he did, but Trayvon Walker was a guy that shot up draft boards because he had the great combine, the great measurements. He's been a good football player. No one would argue he should have been the first overall pick because Aiden Hutchinson was in that class, but Shamir Stewart was drawing some of those comps like, oh, how he measured, how he is going to test is going to be like Trayvon Walker type stuff. So pure athlete, big physical dude. I think of, hey, Mike Vrabel might love this guy. Violent, physical, athletic, has the size. This might be a Mike Vrabel type guy if the Patriots were to trade down and, some of those top edge rushers like Mike Green or someone were already off the board. I have the Patriots making another trade here, right? Obviously, if you're trading down 8 picks in the first round, I would like them to get back up into the first. So here I have the Patriots trading back up into the late first with Detroit. They're giving up their third and their fourth round pick. So they give up their second and their fourth round pick. So they give up a 2 and a 4 to get back up into the first round. And I have the Patriots taking Josh Connerly Jr., an offensive tackle out of the University of Oregon. Now, if you guys watched, I think it was mock draft 3, and if you watched the Senior Bowl recap video, I'm in love with Josh Connerly Jr. I think he's a really, really, really good offensive lineman. He has no concerns about being an offensive guard. He measured at 6'4" and 1/8, 313 pounds. He had 34-inch arms right on the dot. You're not worried about, hey, is this guy going to be a better guard? No, this guy's staying at tackle. This guy is a true left tackle. He's a 2-year starter for Oregon with over 1,700 snaps out there, and they only allowed 2 sacks in that time. And he was going up against big-time competition, both in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, and then obviously making the college football playoff, the run that they had this year. So really good foot quickness, really good ability to redirect when he has to, when guys are doing counter moves, beats pass rushers to the spot with his good first step. He has a good quick step so he can get vertical, doesn't let the defender be able to turn the corner. Good IQ to shut down counter moves by pass rushers or twist games, right? He's able to distinguish those. And he has really good change of direction, good feet, quick feet. He gets his feet in and out of the ground quickly so he can mirror the defender when he needs to. And then in the run game, he has a really good get off. He's able to drive and dig defenders out of the gap he needs to. He takes good angles, whether it's cutoff blocks or reach blocks to get to the second level, whether it's a linebacker or safety, the overhang player, whatever it is. Really athletic guy. This is a dude that played basketball in high school. He's super athletic. He's kind of known for that. And so I really like that from him. The one thing for me that really boosted him into a first round talent, in my opinion, is the 34-inch arms. That is kind of the one thing was like, ooh, is it going to be 33 and 3/4 or 33 and a half? No, it was straight up 34 inches. That for me is going to put him in, cement him in the first round, in my opinion, and say, hey, this is a true left tackle, which there doesn't seem like there's a lot in this 2025 draft class. So he will need to develop a little bit more play strength, and he does get flat-footed at times in the pass games, things like that, which is all stuff you can work on, with a good offensive line coach, which Doug Monroe for the Patriots is going to be great. So you get a guy like this who's a really good athlete, probably still has a little bit of rawness, but has the feet, has stuff like that to be a great offensive tackle with Doug Monroe. I think that's going to be a really good combination if the Patriots were to get their hands on Josh Connerly. So moving to the pick that we got from the Cowboys, right, in the trade down, we acquired a second-round pick. I have the Patriots taking wide receiver Xavier Restrepo, okay? Xavier Restrepo for me, 5'9" and 3/8, 200 pounds. He had the 11th highest PFF grade amongst receivers, 82.3. 69 receptions, 1,127 yards, and 11 touchdowns. He had 1,038 yards from the slot of those receiving yards. Now, you talk about the stereotype of Josh McDaniels wide receiver. Xavier Restrepo is a Josh McDaniels type receiver, okay? He had 503 yards after the catch, which was 10th in college football, 7.3 yards after the catch per reception, which was 8th. He was Miami's all-time leading wide receiver with 2,844 yards in his career at Miami. The short area quickness on this guy when he's in a telephone booth, when he's in and out of breaks, is elite. Like, best of the best in this class. Concentration at the catch point. He rarely has drops. He has really good hands when he is getting the ball thrown to him. He's tough as nails, right? Julian Edelman, like over the middle of the field. He takes hit after hit. He's not afraid. He still goes up and makes the play when he has guys that are bailing down on him and going to, kind of take his head off. He's not going to wow you athletically. And this reminds me of a guy last year that a lot of people were like, oh man, he's not a flashy receiver, Ladd McConkey. Okay. Yeah, but they will get it done in the passing game. They will get it done. They will find a way to get open. They will catch the ball over the middle of the field, and they'll be able to run the entire route tree. He's a specialist at running the route tree. He can run every single route you want him to. You can put him in the slot. He can run, over the middle of the field. He can run outbreaking routes. He can win vertically because he knows how to set guys up. He really, I hate the stereotype him and say he's a Josh McDaniels type guy, but when you think of what Josh McDaniels has put in his offense and made out of those guys, Xavier Restrepo is exactly one of those guys. And it would be super fun, in my opinion, to have him with Drake May, with the Patriots. Now, there could be some overlap because of Demario Douglas like that, but Xavier Restrepo, in my opinion, is way more dynamic than Demario Douglas, even though Demario Douglas is really good. So the one thing about Restrepo, he doesn't have very much position versatility. You can move him around with shifts and motions. Obviously, you can do that with most guys, but you're not going to be able to line him up at X or Z very often. He doesn't give you much past 20 yards, so he can run the whole route tree, but he's just not making plays, 20 yards down the field. He's going to be able to, run a 10-yard or 12-yard in-breaking route. He's going to be able to run a corner route. He's going to be able to do all those things that you want him to. That's deep enough in the, short to intermediate range, but deep past 20 yards doesn't really give you much in the offense. So that's interesting. But I already said it earlier. I really believe this is this year's Ladd McConkey. He's a bit shorter. McConkey was 5'11" and a half. Xavier Restrepo's 5'9" and 3/8. So just a little bit shorter, but he's a little bit thicker than Ladd McConkey. I really believe his L drill, short shuttle, stuff like that is going to be really impressive when he tests at the combine. He is a go up, do it all receiver that can just get the job done. And athletically, okay, yeah, he's not going to be Matthew Golden. He's not going to be some of these guys that are going to test like a freak, or you watch on the film and you're like, whoa. But when you need something to happen, like when we did with Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, Jacoby Myers, Xavier Restrepo is the guy that I want in that role as a Patriots fan out of this draft class. So high praise for Xavier Restrepo. I'm interested to see what you guys think. If you guys haven't watched him, I really think if you put the tape on, you'd be like, whoa, yeah, this is a Josh McDaniels Patriots type of receiver, and would instantly become one of the top options for Drake May just because of how easily he gets open and how well he can do a lot of things within an offense. And then with our last pick in the third round, so we don't have a fourth round pick because we use that to trade back up into the first. But for the Patriots now, addressing more of the interior defensive line. One thing that excites me about this guy is you saw what Terrence Williams did with Jeffrey Simmons in Tennessee. If you get a guy like Darius Alexander from Toledo as an interior defensive lineman for me with Terrence Williams, I think that is a really good third round pick. Darius Williams was 6'3" and 5'8", 305 pounds. Another guy that had 34-inch arms. Big, long, physical interior defensive lineman. He had a 90.2 PFF grade, which was second amongst interior defensive linemen, only behind Mason Graham. And he had a 90.3 PFF run grade, which was third only behind Mason Graham and Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. He had the sixth most pressures amongst interior defensive linemen at 37, and he had the ninth highest pass rush win percentage, which was 12.8%. So a guy that's at a smaller school, but he was super productive in both the run and in the pass. And coming into the week, you were kind of asking at the Senior Bowl, hey, is this guy going to be able to do it against top competition? Well, he proved that. He can do that. I wrote this down. If you guys could see my notes right now, the first thing in his pros list, it says power, and even more power, and it's all capitalized. This dude is big, physical, violent, and powerful. Man, can he walk dudes back. He has the elite length to hold gaps. He can have that leverage. Interior offensive linemen who usually have shorter than 33-inch arms are going to struggle blocking a guy like this. Even offensive tackles are going to have a hard time blocking Darius Alexander. Really good penetration when he's getting off the ball due to his strength. Good quick twitch, that shows with his 12.8% pass rush win percentage. He's not just a big body that's in the middle of the field. He has good twitch to him when he needs to put a move on a guy. And he has very, very heavy hands when he's trying to stun defenders. Long levered arms, heavy hands, puts the dude, stops the offensive lineman when he needs to. So the other that I've noticed is because he was at the lower level and because he was so dominant, consistency's been a little spotty. He'd show up for 2 or 3 plays and disappear for 5 or 6, show up for 2 or 3, but he has everything athletically. So maybe that's what's keeping him as a 3rd round pick, is just kind of the consistency questions. Sometimes he does have bad timing with his first step. He doesn't have that explosive get off. I wonder if that's kind of due to the consistency thing I kind of talked about. Like, hey, not all the time is he always in it. Was it because he was at a lower level? Things like that. At the Senior Bowl, he didn't really see that. He was out there, with his hair on fire, making a ton of plays and doing a ton of great things rep after rep. So that one's kind of a question mark for me right now. Just what I saw film, but it's like, hey, at the Senior Bowl, you didn't really see that. He does play with high pad level at times, and then his punch placement can miss. He has long arms, heavy hands, but sometimes he's not the most accurate, whether he's trying to control the inside shoulder, things like that. He can miss and slip off a couple of times. But athletically, physically, this seems like a Mike Vrabel defensive lineman would go great next to Christian Barmore, having both of them. Christian Barmore obviously being an elite pass rusher, but Darius Alexander being a guy that can sit in there, anchor the run game, and still add some things to the pass rush game. You just saw the Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl against the Chiefs solely based off of in my opinion, what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to do to Patrick Mahomes, and that's get home with 4 pass rushers. Patrick Mahomes tried to step up in the pocket and escape. There were either ends coming in to collapse on like a late TE stunt, or the interior defensive linemen were stepping up in the pocket and not creating those exit lanes. Guys like Shamir Stewart and Darius Alexander are going to be able to push and collapse the pocket, right? Obviously, you need a speed rusher. So, yeah, that's why I love like an Abdul Carter and Mike Green, is if you can run the hump and make the quarterback step up, guys like Christian Barmore, Darius Alexander, if they're in the middle, are going to have a heyday. So getting home with 4, I think, is something that's super underrated on the defensive side. I think Mike Vrabel knows that. I think Terrence Williams knows that. And I'm excited to see what they can build on the interior defensive line with Christian Barmore. Having him back for a full year will be great. So super excited about this one. Again, guys, if you missed it or if you forgot, this was only based off of Senior Bowl eligible players. So only guys that were at the Senior Bowl for the Patriots to take. So let me know down below your thoughts on this. If you would grade this, a B+ like the Patriots did, what you thought on the trade, things like that. Maybe, you could throw in Micah Parsons in this one. I just don't know. I know that they are debating on if they should trade him or give him a payday. So we'll see what they do there. But getting an extra 1st round pick in 2026 for the Cowboys, I will say this right here. I don't like forcing trades on PFF Mock Draft Simulator. For some reason, PFF was saying it was like a 20% chance the Cowboys would accept it if I didn't throw in that 3rd round pick. I think this is a little high. If this is the trade right here, where it's the Patriots giving up their 4th overall pick and a 3rd round pick to get 2 firsts and this 44th overall pick, that one seems a little high to me. So maybe you move that 3rd one down a little bit, or maybe you don't have to include it at all, because moving down 8 spots, and if the Cowboys really are targeting Shedeur Sanders or someone like that, they're going to have to pay that quarterback tax. You probably don't have to give up that 3rd round pick. So that was just the only way that the trade would have went through. So I threw that one in there. And then, obviously there was so much movement around in the 3rd round that I knew I was going to get another one back and things like that. So let me know your thoughts below, though, what you would do differently if you like these guys from the Senior Bowl. Of course, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and comment button down below so you guys can stay up to date whenever we do go live or whenever we post a video. So appreciate all the support. Again, Mock Draft Mondays have been absolutely killing it because of you guys. So appreciate it all. Let's keep it up. And until next time, I will talk to you guys later.